top dressing home lawns. Actually, I have a Facebook page where I encourage my viewers to go. You guys can join there. There's like myself and 3 or 4 other experts that can help you with your home lawn. You can take a picture of it there, and unlike the comments on YouTube, you can't take a picture, but on the Facebook page, you can go there, take a picture, and we can give you some guidance. But one of the questions I had on the Facebook page was about top dressing your lawn and what material should you use when you're top dressing your yard. There is a lot really bad advice on YouTube. And guys, watch this video. I'm actually going to show you soil profiles at work with these materials to telling you to put on your yard and how it can affect particular water infiltration into the soil profile, which can lead to increased disease issues, puddling in your yard, particularly during the summer, and cooking your grass. It can also lead to lack of irrigation efficiency and taking full advantage of the summertime when you do get a rainstorm, and how a lot of that water can wash off if you do not do this correctly and use the incorrect materials. So let's get started. The first one I've seen is organic material. And some people use these drums. I saw one guy on YouTube actually using a shopping cart, which is actually a pretty cool idea. But here's where you can get into trouble. What happens is, let's say it's non-composted material. Sawdust would be the worst because it's carbon. When we're talking about organic material, we're talking about a non-composted. The carbon to nitrogen ratio. The higher the carbon to nitrogen ratio, the more nitrogen it is going to take for those bacteria. They're going to consume more nitrogen. They need that as they work. Okay. So whenever you put a non-composted organic material down, you are going to deprive your grass of nitrogen because the bacteria will intercept, if you will, that nitrogen, and they need it to break down that organic material. So if you put a non-composted, composted organic material down, you're going to have a nitrogen issue until it's broken down. It takes long. Sawdust takes the longest. Actually, one of the lowest carbon to nitrogen ratios is chicken manure. And you find that in a lot of fertilizers. It's actually pretty high nitrogen too. It's good stuff. A little bit of post production here. This is why I am not too crazy about lawn leveling. And in the USGA article down below, what happens is when you put a lot of material on top of existing turf, you are trapping in organic matter in basically your small little bit of thatch layer that you have, and you're creating this zone of organic material. And I'll show you how bad that can be here in a minute. And that is one of the reasons why I am not one of the reasons why I'm not going to level my yard. Now, if you aerify and level at the same time, and I'm pounding this aerification, I think that will overcome a lot of it, particularly if you're aggressive with your aerification. But this is a classic example on a putting green, for example, where they have overtly top dressed, put too much down, not aerified, and now they get this layering effect. And I'll show you here in a minute of why that is a really bad. If you use organic material that is composted, could be cow manure, could be just about anything, even compost. What you're doing is you're creating a layer. You never really want to create a distinguished layer of organic material, particularly if it's a woody material or something that's going to take a long time to further break it down, because it will continue to break down slower now as composted. But what happens is it will hold a lot of water, and the infiltration rate of that generally is not the greatest. Yes, it will hold water, but what you're wanting to do when it rains, you're wanting that water to infiltrate in that soil and get down in the root zone. And I'll show you here in a second on what happens when you put a clay material, or when you put a finer material over top of coarser material. But what also can happen when you have organic matter, one, they have generally some waxes and oils in it that actually can repel water, depending on what you use. If you're blending it with soils, it's not that bad. But if you're putting just that straight organic material on, it's going to have trouble infiltrating that and getting down in the root zone. It'll puddle. So when you get a rain event that you want in July or August, it won't get down in the soil. It'll just run off. Or if you put out your irrigation, you're putting out a lot, it'll have to saturate that first. I'll show you that here in a second. It'll saturate that area, then it will start infiltrating. The other thing that happens here, I'll really show you here. Eventually, if you put organic material down, and then you get a little bit, ultimately you will get a little bit of sediment on top of it, and you have that organic mat. Watch what happens here. The water starts infiltrating into the sediment that is on that organic material that you put down, and now it just works around it. You see how it's working around it there? That's what I'm talking about as far as lowering the infiltration rate of your soils. What happens is the soil around it has to get to saturation, and then it infiltrates the organic material. So what you want to do whenever you put out any type of organic material, you want to blend it with, ideally, sand. That's what we do on golf course greens. So you never want to put out just strictly organic mat. That's essentially what you're creating. Guys worry about thatch, but you're actually putting a super thatch on top of the soil when you put out straightly organic matter. Okay, so there's that. So now let's talk about the types of soil that you may be putting out, or the types of sand. Now, if you have a coarser material and you put a finer material on top of it, this is what happens. What happens is that finer material has to reach saturation first before it infiltrates into the coarser material underneath. Very similar to what I was talking about. It's more profound here. But what happens is that upper layer has to get saturated, then it infiltrates. And then if you keep on doing this, and I've seen golf greens like this, because different golf course superintendents, you use different material, maybe have different management. Quite frankly, I don't know what they're doing. There's a few of those in any profession. You'll get this layering effect. And what happens is that water won't infiltrate down in there. So if you take a coarse or a finer material and put it on top of coarser material, your infiltration rate is substantially compromised. And you really want that water to get down in there, particularly in July and August when you really got to have that water. You want to infiltrate and not run off, or create puddling, which you get a puddle, particularly you guys in Florida, get a puddle in your yard, and then the sun comes back out and it gets back up to 98 degrees. Most of your warm season grasses will take it. Those of you with cool season grasses down in the south, it'll cook it. In fact, I'll show you right here. Happened here. We got a saturated area. Just the other night, got one hell of a rainstorm. You can see where my neighbor's yard, they have cool season grasses. It cooked it. Now it'll recover, but it doesn't look too good right now. If you do that, you'll get some puddling. Now, as far as materials to use, I would not use play sand. There's going to be a lot of finer material in that play sand, and it is made, guys, for kids to play with and create a sandcastle and compact. You don't want that on your yard. Now, those of you who've done that, I'm going to tell you how to solve it here in a second. Don't panic. We'll fix it. So, what to use? You want to use masonry sand ideally. And the reason being is there is a worldwide standard for masonry sand. It is going to be the same if you buy it, wherever you buy it, it's going to be pretty much the same particle size. So you're going to get, you know what you're getting. That is probably the cheapest route you need to go. I would not buy it from Lowe's or any of the box store. Not anything bad about Lowe's. What I would get it is from a bulk. You can get these anywhere. I mean, there's building going on everywhere. Get it from a bulk store where a mason, where masons get it from. There's probably somewhere, we've got a couple in this area where they have it in bins, and you can put it in your pickup truck. That would probably be what I would recommend. Or if you really feel aggressive, if you're yard leveling, you can go ahead and have a semi truckload, dump it on your driveway. It also comes in these bags. And that's probably what I would do. I would get the bags so that way you could place them in your driveway and still use the doggone thing. The third thing is USGA spec sand. Probably call a local golf course superintendent and probably tell you where you can get that. And this is going to lead me into blending a little bit. That is going to be probably a silica sand. And you may hear that term, and I talked about it in my yard leveling video. Silica sand What it is about as basic as you can get. This is the other thing when you get river bottom sands and definitely the play sand, they're not completely broken down, so their structure and their textural class may change, their chemical structure may change. Don't worry about that too much. But the silica is essentially in some ways like a diamond. It's not going to break down anymore. It's why you use silica sand in a golf course green, is because it's not going to break down anymore. It's at its base level. Okay, you have all sandstone, feldspars, all kinds of geology that goes along with sand, and there's a lot to it. You get into angularity too, as far as golf bunkers and stuff like that. It's beyond what I want to talk about in this video. That USGA green sand, if you're really going to go top notch, generally a lot of those vendors will blend it for you if you really want to spend the money to do it. As far as blending top dressing, it is kind of hard to do, and you want to do it on a volume basis, not a weight basis. Okay, there's a huge difference. If you have 100 cubic foot of, let's say you have 90 cubic foot of silica sand and you want to make it a 90-10 mix, you add 10% of by volume of organic matter, and that gives you the 90-10 mix. So anyway, ballpark. Now, is it necessary to really mix that organic matter into it? In my opinion, no. I don't think so. On the one of the Palmer courses that did, they put out, I think we did most of the golf course greens I've done is a 90-10 mix of silica sand and organic matter. On a home lawn, this is where I'm kind of questioning if you're willing to do this or not. But on a home lawn, you could probably bump that up to 80%. Check the prices too, because it actually might be cheaper to put a little more organic matter in there, depending on the vendor. And could you blend it on site? Well, if you're looking yard leveling, you're looking at probably several tons of sand, and that's a lot to blend. If you're looking at top dressing material, I think it's a hell of a lot of work just to put a little top dressing in. I would top dress with straight sand, because really what you're looking for leveling, you're looking for water infiltration. You're not really looking for, and a lot of guys fret about putting pure sand out as far as its water holding, or probably nutrient holding capacities. And if you do add organic matter, you're essentially adding cation exchange capacity, which is basically what the nutrient holding capacity is the soil. So anyway, that is pretty much top dressing and what material to use. You can rent these top dressers if that's probably an easy way to put it out. I would do it on the day that it is reasonably dry, so you can kind of work it in the soil. The advantages of top dressing are: one, you are getting leveling; two, it does help with water infiltration, providing that you're doing it correctly; and three, it does reduce your thatch layer, which is probably why, because bent grass greens are pretty, because they're stoloniferous grass and they can get thatchy. And I've only really seen thatch a problem on one golf course. Thatch is generally not a problem. I did make a thatch video about how everybody's going batshit crazy about thatch on YouTube. It's usually not that big a deal. It really isn't. You need a half inch of thatch for your bacteria. And I go through all that important things that you need to do with thatch in that video. I'll leave a link to all these either here. I'll leave a link to all these videos right here. You can tap on it, you can check it. Now, for those of you who are in a panic, please don't panic. If you've used play sand or you put organic matter or any of these YouTube video hacks or anything the algorithm has shoved into your YouTube suggestions, here's what you do. And here's what you have to do. You have to aerify. What you're doing is you're creating a hole, a tilth layer, as you can see here, into those layers. And then you're putting the native soil back, and that you're essentially blending the soil in place. And it's going to take a number of times for you to do it. Ideally, the perfect situation, aerify in the spring, everyone. Aerify in the fall for cool, warm season grasses. If you go dormant, don't aerify 6 weeks prior to dormancy. Cool season grasses, you could probably put that out at seeding when you're doing your overseeding. If you don't need to overseed, I'd go ahead in the fall. I talked about this in my summer weed video. For those of you in the fall, just to give you an idea, and I'm going to do another update on my Annua control video. If you aerify in the fall, one, monitor your soil once when it gets below 70 degrees, because 50 to 70% of the Annua is going to germinate throughout the year, is going to germinate in the fall. If you put mesotrione out on it, either this tenacity, Scots for seeding, torsidity, or the Sublime product that I talk about in my summer weed video, You can put that out, and that will give you 30 to 45 days. It says in the label 30 days, probably give you close to 45, that'd be my guess. That will help Annua germination during that time when you did aerify and open things up a little bit. You don't want to do it when it's going to be stressed because it will dry out a little quicker. That's why I'm saying do it in that September timeframe. You know, proceed with caution. Just don't want a whole bunch of drought. Don't want it during the dry period. You want when full temperatures go a little cooler. Put that mesotroph product. Will actually whack some of the post emergent that it suppresses Annua, and then you have a pre-emergent herbicide out there for any Annua to germinate in the fall. So anyway, just keep that in mind. But yeah, aerification. You just got to open it up and try to get those layers evened up and try to get that water to infiltrate as it showed in that video down below. So anyway, that's how you solve the problem from these other YouTubers that told you to put stuff out on your yard that you shouldn't be. So anyway, that is top dressing material, and just use a masonry sand. You should be fine there. You can blend it if you're just particularly top dressing with a little bit of organic matter, but I think it's more than what you really need to be doing. And if you do it on a per volume basis. Anyway, I'm agronomist Greg Phillips, and like I always say, it's not that complicated unless you want to make it complicated. I don't think you do. Thanks for watching.